Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking corporate strategy, but with a twist. We're looking at it through the lens of climate change and figuring out how businesses can win, not just survive, by thinking like a grandmaster in a really high-stakes chess match.
So let's start with a puzzle, one that pretty much every business leader on the planet is facing right now. Imagine you're in the middle of a chess game, but the board itself is shifting under your pieces. New threats, new openings, all happening in real time. How on earth do you plan your next move, let alone win?
And look, this isn't just some fun thought experiment. The stakes are massive. As Michael Bloomberg, the chairman of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, points out here, this is about the future of the global economy. What he's saying is that learning these new rules is absolutely key to building a smarter, more stable system for everyone.
Okay, so to make our first move, we've got to understand how the board is changing. Let's really get a handle on the new risks that have totally redrawn the map for businesses everywhere.
And what's so important to get is that these are not just bigger versions of old problems. Nope. Climate change brings two completely new kinds of financial risk to the table, things that are rewriting the rulebook as we speak.
So it really breaks down into two big categories. On one side, you've got your transition risks. Think of these as the fallout from us moving to a greener economy. Things like new government policies, big shifts in technology, or even just what customers want. Then, on the other side, you've got physical risks, and this is the direct hit from climate change. We're talking acute things like cyclones and floods, and the slower, chronic stuff like sea levels rising. All right, if you're going to play on this new shifting board, you're going to need a new playbook. And that's exactly what the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, we just call it the TCFD, went and created. It's a framework designed to help companies talk about these new risks in a way that's clear and consistent.
Now, this playbook is built on four main pillars. There's governance, risk management, and metrics and targets. But the one we're really zooming in on today is strategy. This right here is the heart of it all. This is where the rubber meets the road. How a company's plans, its business, its whole financial future are actually being impacted by climate change.
So, with all this uncertainty, what's the smartest move a company can make? Well, it's not about trying to predict the future with a crystal ball. It's about getting ready for multiple futures. It's about wargaming all the possibilities before they even happen.
And the tool for that is something called scenario analysis. Basically, it's a way to explore a bunch of different plausible what-ifs. To go back to our chess game, it's like practicing on different boards, one where your queen is suddenly taken out, another where your opponent does something totally unexpected. It just makes you a much stronger, more flexible player. So how does this actually work? Well, it's a pretty logical three-step dance. First, you pick a few different but believable future scenarios. Then you take your current strategy and you stress test it against each of those worlds to see where it bends and where it breaks. And finally, you tell people, your investors, your customers, how well your strategy holds up. You're basically showing them you've thought it all through.
And inside that whole process, there is one scenario that is absolutely non-negotiable. The TCFD says every single organization has to game out a 2 degrees Celsius or lower future. Why? Because that number is tied to the Paris Agreement, and it forces companies to get really serious about what a rapid shift to a low-carbon world would look like for them.
You know, the payoff for doing this is just huge. It forces the folks in the boardroom to have real conversations about the long term. It completely shatters that business-as-usual bubble, helps you find hidden financial risks, and this is the really cool part. It can actually point you toward brand new opportunities for growth that you never would have seen otherwise. So all of this work, all this planning, it's all building towards the end game. The point isn't just to survive the match. It's to become a master of the game, to develop what the pros call adaptive capacity. And that is the very definition of resilience. It's not about how tough you are. It's about how well you can adapt. It's having the ability to pivot, to respond, and to turn something that looks like a threat into a genuine strategic advantage. It's being ready for anything, no matter how the board shifts.
So, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. A truly resilient company doesn't run from change. It runs towards it. It sees that shifting board not as a problem to be solved, but as a chance to outthink and outmaneuver everyone else.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. In this new global game, just sitting back and playing defense is a surefire way to lose. Being proactive, thinking ahead, that's not just a nice to have anymore. It's everything. The only question left is, what's your next move going to be?